Hello, my name is Doom and welcome to another Geometry Church building video. In the last video, I had a absolutely mental time trying to figure out how to optimize the background, but now the whole level runs smoothly with virtually no lag, and the background fully loops, so there isn't any graphical weirdness going on. We also improved this area by adding a few details. It's coming together, but there's a few things I'm not quite sure about, so we'll see how we go with that. In this episode, I don't actually want to work on this garden area just yet. There's something else I want to do, and it's finish up this area. I started building the mountain you kind of climb up in the last episode, and in this episode, I want to add in a bunch of trees and make it just come fully alive. I think that would be great. You can also see I got the background looping and looking real cool. I'm very pleased with that. I'm still very pleased with that. Anyways, to begin us off, I think it would be a good idea to shift this across a little bit so it covers up everything. What I want to do is have these kind of square blocks that you see here and these square blocks here. I want them to be like another castle wall. So, I don't know, these are kind of like steps up to the castle or something. I think that could look cool. And then these structures here will all be different trees. I think that could look very cool. The other thing I want to do at some point, I don't know if I'll get it done this episode, is these fades, I actually want to change them so they're like the castle that goes past. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do that because how I've got it working here, but we'll see. I think for now, it'll be a good idea to work on the trees. Now, a real simple way to make them, I think we're going to use my favorite color, 19, which is our kind of woody color. I'm going to warp this up so it fits this whole area. Yep. And move it up to here. And then I can warp this up again. Hopefully that'll stay loaded in. You'll notice that the kind of trees I've gone for in the background are like kind of pine trees. So I think it might be a good idea to make something that kind of looks like that. One really cool detail I saw in a level, adding these kind of pieces onto the side. I'll show you what I mean. If I warp these up, rotate it just a touch, and then I think I'll put them behind here. These should probably be T1, 1, and this can be T1, -1, so it stays behind, and then I can make all of this visible, and so then it looks like there's like little details of like juts and things coming out of the tree, which I think looks really cool. What I could even do is maybe have some of these, I've just realized I put them all on the wrong layer, have some of these behind others so that stick out a little bit more. Yeah, something like that. There we go, that looks like it has a little bit of thickness texture to it, I guess. I also don't know how I should kind of integrate these into the ground here. Maybe like that, and then I can have maybe like a root coming out. Oh, that could look cool. There we go, now it's got some like little roots sticking out, and I can just grab what I've done here, copy it up here. Sure, that makes for a fine time. And then what I can do is have like a backing to this, I guess. Like if I go here, I bring this down a little bit, and then I brighten it up a bit. Maybe if I desaturate it. Okay, never mind. How about instead of brightening, we darken? It doesn't look quite right. I actually like lighter saturated. And what I can do is maybe over the top of it, I can grab one of these pieces, make this, you know, like a darker color. What I can do is create like a brown color, dark brown, have it half opacity. Doesn't look quite right. Maybe if I also do this, make these ones light. That just looks messy. What this definitely needs is these pieces. We'll put them T1 over the top of everything, put this in the middle, make this the darker color, and hopefully that'll make it look like the tree is kind of rounded. I don't know, is that decent? Oh, these are not lined up, like barely. Yeah, free move is great for like getting it the perfect pixel. I highly recommend using free move if you can't figure out how to align something. Okay, maybe if instead of just this color, we go copy color 19, turn the brightness down a little bit. Doesn't look good because like you can really see the difference between these two parts. I think it's a good idea. It looks kind of rounded. I think it's just missing a lot of like the texture and the detail. Like usually this bark has sort of like kind of lines in it. So what I can do is take this, go this to T2, 5, make this color 19, and then have some that are slightly lighter and some that are slightly darker, some that are much lighter there, and some that are much darker like there. Well, it certainly adds texture to it. I bet instead we go to next free, copy color 19, and then half opacity. I don't know, does that look like a tree? Kind of. What is this color? This is 19. Okay, I just had a ridiculous idea. Do I have like a circular piece? Yes, I do. Okay, what if I grab this? Not even that. What if I grab this, put this here? This will be like the one, whatever ridiculous layer. I take this back to 19, I make it brighter, I desaturate it, and I warp it all the way down, all the way across. Now that looks interesting because it kind of looks like a log's been cut away. I'm going to put down a start pause, see how that looks in motion. Whoa, that looks really cool actually. What if I added a little bit of extra detail? Putting this on group 291 and then make an area move that's like locked to XY mode. I don't know anything. A length of 100. I want it to move, I don't know, maybe like 5. Centered on layer, and it'll be like that. The idea is when you get close to it, if you're up high, then this comes down. If you're down low, this comes up. So it's like a perspective thing. I have no idea if that'll actually work though. I forgot to give it an actual group. It was close. What if I set it the opposite way? You know what? This is breaking my brain a little. What if I just make it very, very simple? We start this 5 down like that, and we move it by 10 over the course of 2, over the course of 3. And this way, it'll be like when you move up through it, it'll change perspective. Yeah, kinda, except I think it needs to be a lot more subtle. I think it's way too obvious at the moment. Yeah, that adds some perspective. I also realized this definitely does not reach the top, so I'm gonna take these and warp them up even more. That's annoying me. Trees usually get smaller towards the top, so I'm going to warp this in like that, and then create 2 small little things kind of go up that are like angled. There we go. It looks like a little bit, kinda, sorta, maybe. I'll do a similar thing to these ones as well. Warp it down like a little bit, do that sort of thing. There we go. I think the ones in here look a little stupid, so I'll make all of these just a little more transparent so they're a little more subtle. God, I think that does wonders. I might even make them a little more subtle. There we go. Ones on the outside can stay a little brighter, but the ones on the inside are a lot better like that. One other thing I should do is go to here, grab these. What is this? B116. So these will be B117. Will be a little darker, and then these will be our rings. You know how trees have like rings on the inside? Yeah, there we go. Okay, they look a little stupid. All right, let's see how this looks all together. Whoa, it looks sick as. Very happy with that. Although, once more, the top of this is visible. I have to warp this up even more. There we go. So, I'm gonna have a couple of trees that look like this. I mean, these are just the trunks anyways. I'll add the branches that kind of come down as well. Okay, now this is too large, so I have to add it to the group that these are on. Easy. Now that shouldn't clip out of existence. Maybe what I could do is just for a little bit of flavor. No, I like my flavor. Is just add really thin strip of this here, and then this can be like B1 like 20 or something. There we go. Now it looks like it's kind of hollowed out, I guess. Actually, it's probably better if I have it underneath the kind of round bit there. So I'm gonna make it B112. That might work. Oh yeah, that looks so sick. That's great. That's great. I love this. This is awesome. It's only added like 1,000 objects, but it's fine. How many objects is it actually? It's only 100. It's fine. Everything's fine. And this is great because it means I can just paste it over and then change like the branches and stuff when I need to. Like if I just move this here and then regroup it, suddenly we got the same effect but done slightly differently. The only thing I'll need to change is this down by 1. It's fine. It's easy. Yep, there we go. And then we hide all of that, and then that'll look good. And then I can kind of change these a little. Why the background loaded this time? And it also loaded in wrong. That's cool. Yeah, I think that looks really cool. I'm very happy with that. All right, now that that's all done, I think what I want to do is try and work on the branches and the leaves first before moving on to, adding in the rest of the trees down here. Because if I get these ones right, I'm going to have a much easier time getting these ones down below right that are currently covered by this massive black sheet. Very fun. Anyways, I think I'm going to do that in time-lapse form. So let's go. Hello and welcome to today's time-lapse. In this time-lapse, I tried to create the branches to the trees. I went with a bit of an artistic approach, I guess, where my main idea was I start with the branches and just keep layering them up. So I laid out all the branches first, and then I tried multiple different ways of creating leaves, whether it was like through this half circular objects or like the weird half platform objects and stuff like that. But I eventually just went and used like the cloud objects, which will come to bite me in the ass later, as you'll see. But I think they work really well as like bushy leaves, but pine trees, which are the type of tree I'm going for here, are more, I guess, like spiky. Like they've got spines kind of coming out of all of them, so it makes it a little tricky to detail up. So I thought the best like object I guess not object intensive, but like to use less objects, the best way to do it was to use those kind of cloud objects. And you see, I tried a bunch of other stuff to try and make it kind of look spiky, and I didn't get a lot of stuff to work until kind of later on. This was a very big trial and error process, so I'm glad I time-lapsed it, because this would have been boring as hell to watch, and I would have just like skipped through like 90% of it. And I've been pretty short on time this week, so I haven't been able to do a lot of work on the build as I would have liked. Like, I really wanted to finish off like the front gate and all these other things, but for now I think this is fine. So you'll see I tried to use the kind of grass objects as the spiky spines that come out of it, and this kind of first design I kind of went with was way too bright. If you look at like pine trees, they're really dark, and so by having this kind of light bushy leaves onto it, it just doesn't look right, and so it took me ages to adjust it. You'll also see I added in the coin here, and I thought the coolest way to do it was to like create like a beehive and then have it so that when you collect the thing that's under like the waterfall platform in the previous area, it'll kind of open up the beehive and it will look really cool. Yeah, and I ended up animating it as well, so when you get near it, the whole bottom half falls out and rolls down, and I think that looks really cool. I was really happy with how this turned out, actually. But the other thing I did was I added spikes under the first branch, like where the leaves are. So a lot of the ground has slopes in it, so you can just kind of glide up through it. And so I thought a way to kind of balance it out was to have spikes on top, so you kind of had to balance where you were going. Because this, again, this is a 2-star level, so it should be easy. And so this section is a lot easier than it looks, but I wanted it to slowly get harder. So there's a lot of slopes that push you in at the beginning, and then the slopes kind of disappear by the end of it. If that makes any sense. I feel like I'm not making sense. I feel like I'm going insane, but that's exactly what I did. The other thing I did was I ended up detailing up the other trees here. So you'll see I added a stump in where that kind of half platform was, and so I tried a number of things to try and get it to look decent, because with the trees you would have seen I added in the thing where when you move close to it, the stump moves up, and so it creates this perspective shift, and I think it looks awesome. But when I did that with the stump in particular, it just looked wrong, and so I ended up scrapping it and just having a static kind of stump there. So let me know in the comments whether you like it as the static stump, or you want me to try and go back to having it kind of move up. But yeah, the other thing I did was I created another tree that was a lot wider, kind of like a giant tree that you first pass through. And I thought it didn't make much sense to add the kind of leaves and branches I have added to the other ones to that giant one, just because a lot of it would be off screen. If you look at pine trees, there's actually a lot of variations that don't have leaves for quite a while. Because like usually when you think of pine trees, you think of like Christmas trees and stuff, and those branches like reach the bottom of the ground and stuff. But a lot of other types of pine trees, their leaves actually start really high up. So I thought I could get away with just leaving that one as kind of like a half tree or whatever. You'll see here I did end up darkening all the leaves, and I think it looks so much better. And I added all these kind of objects to create spines, which it's a lot of objects, but I think it adds just an extra layer of detail that like the tree really needed. I also added in these like highlights. If you look at like pictures of like pine trees, they usually have like this yellowish highlight, like this greeny yellow highlight. And so I thought it'd be a good idea to add it, and I think it adds a lot of depth to the tree, which is something it really needs. The other thing I was going to say is that all the leaves are like kind of transparent. I think it looked a little too weird having them completely solid, so I thought the best way to get around this was to make them kind of semi-transparent. And so it allows each layer of like color to kind of bleed through, and I think that really does help it with like how it looks. Another thing I want to say is I ended up asking a couple of Geometry Dash Discord servers, like people on there, what they thought of it. And a lot of them said that they really didn't like the shape of the leaves.
So I ended up kind of pushing them down and making them curve out like more like a Christmas tree. And I think that really helped. Like with, I'm actually not sure which one I prefer, whether I prefer the first tree or the second tree here, because I think they both have their kind of strengths and weaknesses, and I am so pissed that I did this on the same layer, because this was awful to like regroup. But yeah, the second tree has a lot more spaced out branches, and you'll see why in a second. Oh, I can explain it now actually. The reason they're spaced out like that was so I could animate them going up and down, kind of like in the wind, because those leaves, those branches on the far right of this second tree actually extend into where the end screen is. And so I thought it'd be a great idea to animate them and loop them just like I did with the background, so I could create some cohesion, because I think that's a great way of tying everything in together. And so I think that came out like awesome. You'll also see I added these little stump bits coming out of the tree, because this is the ending where you kind of fly up. I didn't want there to be a weird branch that kind of went upwards like I did with the previous tree, just for gameplay purposes. And so I thought the best way to do that would be to be like, oh look, I've cut the branches off this tree, and so, you know, it adds a bit of story to the build, and that's exactly what I want. This is like an art level, you kind of want to build that story up, and so I thought that was a good way of doing it. And so I spent a bit of time, you know, getting everything to loop properly. I spent a bit of time adding in all the slopes and everything, and I think this turned out pretty alright. I wish I had more time to kind of finish it off, but like, you look at it play through and I think it looks awesome. Anyways, back to the build.
Alright, now that we've finished that, I think these look pretty good. The one problem I have with them is if I highlight all of these, yeah, it's like 12,000 objects. 12,000? No, 1,400 objects, which is about 700 objects per tree, which is a bit ridiculous, but I think it looks pretty decent, and I think it suits the rest of the level pretty well, just in terms of the art style. I don't know, I'm just kind of winging the art style, so whatever happens, happens. I also really like the little beehive I made, that when you collect the key over here, it opens up and then goes blue, blue. I think it's awesome. So with that one, I think I'm going to leave it off there. I wanted this to be a shorter episode because I'm a bit busy this week, so I hope you liked the episode. If you did, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about this level. Give it a like, subscribe, ring that bell so you're always notified of when I upload. Once again, the song is copyrighted, so I'm going to put my own music over the top of it. I hope you had a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.